Welcome to our channel Drakshi's Knowledge Stack. So today we will be learning class 10th history, the age of industrialization. So we'll try to understand in brief. So let's begin. The age of industrialization, which comprise of, so here we relate factories and industries together, but industries means industrialization means growth of the factories. We think industrialization, industrial production means factory production. We think industrial workers means we think as the factory workers. We think that industrialization start with the setting up of the factories, but this idea is wrong totally. So we will see next. That means when the factories were absent, there were no factories that time also. There were large scale production was also being held. International market. So the term here used is proto-industrialization in the absence of the factories. So when world trade expanded, the expansion of the world trade occurred. That time, even in the different parts of the world, colonies were set up. So goods demand automatically increased. So the merchants present over here, they were unable to expand their production in the towns, especially in the towns, and the urban craft and the trade guilds, as the traders or the trade guilds were so powerful that they were unable to expand the trade. So here the trade guilds, that is a group of merchants, were so powerful that they used to control the production, price, competition, etc., etc. The rulers present over there, the kings and the queens, they had given the different guilds monopoly over the production. So as they had given monopoly over the production, that only those people can produce the goods, no other person can produce it. So the case that the merchants moved to the countryside, that is the villages. Then in the countryside, the poor peasants began to work for the merchants. Poor peasants would own their own tiny plots or the small piece of land which could not provide a work to all family members here. So when the merchants came near the peasants to produce the goods for them, then they very happily agreed to this. One more thing was that they could remain in their own place and they could earn money here. So now London became the center, finishing center. So all goods produced in the countryside, all were brought to London, and from there it had been exported to other parts of the world. So this was the condition of that time, which we saw in proto-industrialization, that who is to produce the goods, the merchant were controlling the production of the goods here. The goods were produced by the family members, not by in the factories. So this was in a local or the countryside people. In all this situation, we come to know that before the establishment of the factories, even the production was being held. Again, with the coming of the factories. So how the early factories and when they were established? They were established in 1730, but actually it was in late 18th century that way the factories started to multiply. Now a new era began, that is new era of the cotton, which was in 1760s. 2.5 million pounds of the cotton was being imported. So when we come to 1787, it started to import 22 million pounds of the raw cotton. The increase was linked to the change in process of the production. The production and the process of the production was being totally changed, where the new factories established and new machineries were also established. Now comes the era. Richard Arkwright invented the cotton mill. Till now production was done by the families, but after invention of the factory mill, then in the countryside only the family members used to produce the good. But now new machines could be purchased and set up. Workers could produce better products in large quantities because of the invention of the machineries, so which was being invented by the Richard Arkwright. The managing the labor was also much, so here managing the labor was also much easier than before. We come to the pace of industrial change. So how rapid was process of the industrialization? We will study here in brief. So up to 1840, cotton was leading sector in production as well as in export and import. So it means what all production was done, it was related to cotton. England expansion of railways began and demand of iron and steel increased there. For the manufacturing of the rails and even the bogies, the trains, iron and steel was needed in an abundant quantity. Increased so much that by 1873 Britain was exporting 77 million pounds of the iron and steel. And second, new industries could not easily displace because old tradition was cotton industry and the so traditional industries means those people who used to work at their home and in their places. So if we consider at the end of the 19th century, less than only 20% of the people were working in the workplace and remaining 80% were working in the olden industrial sector. Now the third point, the cotton and the metal was able to change the pace of the traditional industries here. The traditional industries also experienced many of the changes brought by the small inventions. So on the base of this, they started working on the food processing, building works, and even pottery, even glass works also expanded. Whereas new technology took long time to spread here because the machines were too costly for them. So only they were unable to afford this all conditions. Because if the machines get spoiled, that needed more repair and even costly to repair, when which scared the merchant and even the industrialist to set up the machines. So only people stepped back there. So conclusion, with the century, the mid 19th century, a worker was not a machine operator but a traditional craftsman.